Well, it looks like almost half of U.S. counties are at above average risk for increased rental property defaults. I'm sure no one's really talking about this, and this is not considered in the normal housing narrative we see right now. Welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of As the Housing Market Turns. Today's the 26th of February, towards the end of the month. Month's almost over. Lots going on like usual. Randy Patrick here, putting the realism back in real estate. So that's what I do. And I got to say, I've been having some great conversations with people who have been reaching out the past few days. And the nice thing that I guess you could say I feel good about is the fact that people are getting this, or you already get it. It's not like I have to convince people. Clearly, the ones that reach out and communicate with me were on the same wavelength anyway, but the makes me feel good knowing that I'm not just yakking about stuff here and people are disregarding, what the true information really is. So happy to know that people see things and understand where the market's headed and are taking precautions to either protect themselves with what's going to happen in the future or take advantage of it. And I mean take advantage, I mean just opportunistic type things. So that's the scoop. But first of all, if you're not already a subscriber, if you could help my channel grow and smash that subscribe button, I would really appreciate that. So thank you very much. And today's video is brought to you by Foreclosure.com. If you want to take a look at foreclosure.com, go to gethousingdata.com. It'll take you right there. It's a great site, probably the number one, we'll say, site or website in the country for distressed property listings. It can show you what's going on in your direct market. It's actually quite cost effective and quite accurate. So please go to housingdata.com. They give you a 7-day free trial, which is really nice. And best of all, the price point for this product is actually really competitive. It's under $40 per month. So again, gethousingdata.com. Check it out, and you can see what's going on in your local market. So today we're going to talk about, as I mentioned, almost half the U.S. counties are at above average risk for increased property or rental property defaults. And I've used this infographic before, and I'm going to use it again because I think it's very telling as to what's going on in the industry. And this part of the industry really is the segment of the housing market that no one really discusses. It's kind of like, it's the section or the group that is not to be named or talked about, you know what I mean, for whatever reason. And it boils down to that there's a huge housing risk. Millions of private single-family landlords worth trillions are at a serious liquidation risk. First loss is best loss. So really, I started up here before, but I'm going to bring up the most important part of the chart here. And again, the infographic's not that clear because I picked it off the internet. But at the very bottom of this chart, it kind of breaks down the number of rental properties, which, and we're talking single family, which really is, 1 to 4 units. This is not multifamily, it's a single family. And you can take a look at the distribution of units across the marketplace, being institutional investors, middle tier, small investors, very small investors. So the majority of, you could say, the property in single-family rentals across the country is held by very small investors, meaning the fact that they own 1 to 10 units. So that's 1 to 10 single-family homes, some duplexes, a combination of whatever, but it could be 1, it could be 10 units, 10 doors, whatever you want to call it. But the point is, when you actually take a look at the volume, okay, it's it's 19 plus million properties that are out there. Estimated market share is 88% of the rental industry. So that's a significant amount of ma and pa investors out there. And ma and pa investors, I mean, I know that the word I don't think is, I don't like that description, ma and pa. I think that's a little bit demeaning. But the point, though, these are private investors. So in other words, either you're driving your income off this, or you're driving your retirement income from this. So who knows? But the point is, this segment is exposed, and this segment it will be beaten up with respect to what's happening in the industry right now. But I wanted to show you the volume. So this is why they don't talk about it, because all we're concerned about, or all the narrative's concerned about, is delinquencies, which are happening. It's the forbearance numbers that we're looking at on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, which actually I don't think it's good. I think we need to go monthly because there's so much variance from week to week that it doesn't help the narrative. It actually hurts the narrative because of all the swings. Hey, this week it's really great because we saw our forbearance numbers decrease, but then next week they go up again. You see, so I just don't doesn't make sense. We should be doing net at the end of each month, but whatever. I'm not the guy producing the information. But the point is, there's a lot of people that own a lot of properties here and they're exposed. So this actually came out. I want to, I saw this, but I didn't really give it much look until one of our subscribers to my short sale program brought this to my attention. I'm like, yeah, I need to relook at it again. And that's why we're talking about it today. So I appreciate him doing that. Here's the scoop, though. Almost half of the U.S. counties at above average risk for increased rental property defaults. So the point of this is that RealtyTrack did some analysis, which is what they do because they're a subsidiary of Adam Data Solutions. So they're looking at this type of information, putting out reports, whatever. So really it boils down to the single family rental property owners in 48% of all U.S. counties are at above average risk of default, according to the first RealtyTrack rental property risk report. So this is interesting because a lot of other, I guess you could say, housing groups or organizations, they're doing risk analysis and trying to put together some sort of scale or some sort of something we can follow that says, hey, this is risk versus the market's great. So I do appreciate when they do this. It basically, the whole idea of this risk report, which measures the relative default risk of single-family rental property owners across the country. The analysis considers risk factors which include financial impact of COVID-19, unemployment rates, and government-imposed moratoria. Now, where my arrow is actually interesting. This is something I said, the market we are not to speak of for whatever reason, housing narrative, mainstream media. That second paragraph, though, the pandemic and the government's response to it have created a unique situation which may put thousands of rental property owners at risk of bankruptcy, foreclosure, or the need to sell off properties at distressed prices. So let's just do that again. Bankruptcy, foreclosure, or the need to sell off properties at distressed prices. This in turn can have negative impacts for tenants, neighborhoods, and communities where rental properties are located. So basically they're saying that there's problems in this segment. And when we took a look at this segment represents 88% or 19 million of the mom and pop level small investor rental properties out there. So this is why, we don't talk about, or when I say we, I mean, generically speaking, the media, as we all know from the year, and it's not like it's any news to people out there, we don't talk about the bad stuff, right? And I get it now. You don't want to alarm people, and there's other agendas and narratives going on, so, it is what it is, right? That's the world we live in now, and we have to get used to it. So I like to, of course, find the information, debunk the narratives, and kind of go right down with statistical analysis and evidence. And even though some of it's, it could be off a little bit, but at least we got something to start with. So again, I'm going back down to, bankruptcy, foreclosure, or sell distressed prices, which to me is future opportunities or wealth transfer happening down the road. And that's not always a positive thing, depending on which end of the wealth transfer you're on, or if you're the recipient of that. Now, the interesting thing here is the fact that that's 19 million. So how many of these people are exposed? Well, let's start going through this right now. So we'll hit the next slide here. So the report's not very big. Basically, what it states is the fact that COVID's up, lots of 22 million jobs lost during the recession. There's more than that. When you actually take a look at the weekly initial we'll call unemployment claims, where it's huge still. According to the Census Bureau, 9.6 million renters are behind on their rent as of Feb 1st, 2021. Basically, the ownership of single-family rental units is skewed heavily towards mom-pop investors who own between 1 and 10 properties. A recent Freddie Mac study reports that 88% of single-family rental properties owners fall in this category of investor. Most of these properties owners have financed the purchase of their rental units, and many are highly leveraged. So we're not talking, let me step back up here, okay? We're not talking about, I guess you could say 88% of these renters or these mom and pop owners that have all this equity that can sell and cash out and go on their merry way. 88% of single-family rental owners fall into the categories investors. That's where the 19 million comes in. And most of the property owners have financed the purchase of their rental units, and many are highly leveraged. So guess what? So there's not a ton of equity there, and that kind of debunks the whole premise that, everything's going to be okay in the future because if you got a property, you're just going to sell it and life is going to be good. Well, that's not going to be as good, and we don't know. the difficulty, because this part of that market's not being tracked. And the bottom paragraph is key here, everybody. The fact that the combination of high unemployment rates and missed rental payments and a ban on evicting non-paying tenants in order to lease properties to paying tenants can prove to be a toxic mix for these mom-and-pop landlords, whose mortgages are generally not protected by the mortgage forbearance program in the Government CARES Act, and also not eligible for protection from foreclosure. So bingo, that's where it is right now. So we talk about things from a primary owner-occupied perspective. That's typically the retail marketplace, and that's what we talk about. Well, that's the narrative, and that's what the media generally talks about. But this, as I said, the market that no one speaks of, this is where it's going to be problematic for a lot of people, and no one's calculating this. So that's when I say, numbers, don't represent what's going on there. I'm taking a look at, I just look at the point where, my numbers are 5 million as opposed to the 3.2 or 3.3 million that, we'll call it, people that are not paying their mortgage, opposed to what Black Knight Financial is saying, whatever. I always think it's under represented, but this segment here is not represented in any discussion. That's why we're going to see a lot of this happening. So if you've got 20 million, 19 million properties out there, and you start saying, well, like just how many of these groups can be affected? Like there could be another 1 million, 2 million of these properties that, at minimum, that could be exposed, that could be sitting there ready for a foreclosure filing, a discount sale, whatever. So that's why this sort of, what's going to happen in the future is tough to grapple with, because we're not actually looking at all the market segments that will affect what's going to happen in the future. All right, but please realize this, and this is so important, because I think, generally speaking, a lot of people are under the misinformation or under the impression that it doesn't matter what type of mortgage you have or what type of property owner you have, owner-occupied, second home investor, that forbearance is taking care of you and everything is great. It's not. As I said, they're generally not protected by the mortgage forbearance program or the Government CARES Act, and not eligible for foreclosure protection. So as the market plays out, and as these these moratoria remain in place, it does nothing other than further put a mom-and-pop segment landlord at risk. And when these moratoriums are over, well, guess what? It's not like your tenant's going to say, listen, I haven't paid you for 18 months. Well, here's a check for the back rent. That's not going to happen. So this is money that is lost. This is money that's not going to be recovered. And that's the problem here. So if you're a landlord, you've probably got some cash reserves, but you may not have 18 months of cash reserves, because typically when you get financing for your properties, they might be looking at 4 to 6 months of cash reserves. So it's not going to happen. So as a landlord, what are you paying for? You're paying your mortgage, if you still can. You're paying for taxes. You're paying for property insurance, right? You probably have to pay for general upkeep and things like that. So this is a great financial stress to a lot of the segment of the small investor. And this, to me, is going to be major problematic in the next little while. So risk scores, what they basically said is they looked at 3,143 counties across the U.S. The criteria basically was the percentage of properties in the county that were rental units, the unemployment rate in the county, and the degree to which rental properties were leveraged, which is the loan-to-value LTV ratio. That was the average, was the weighted average was created, and therefore, I guess you could say, a statistic was or a score was given. 6 states account for more than a quarter of the highest risk large counties, basically Florida, New York, California, Ohio, Texas, Illinois. So basically we've got some stuff going on here, and we'll get into telling you what they are. So really that's what it boils down to, is that, you've got, unemployment rate, loan to value, and risk and percentage of rental property. So this is we're going to look at 50 of these right now. Okay, so, and this is basically the risk score. So they did whatever they did, Realty Track did, to weight, those 3 columns here. So it's got state, where it's located, county, percent of single family residentials that are rental properties, loan to value ratio, unemployment rate in that area, county, and the risk score. So the number 1 location is Mojave County. In Arizona with a risk score of 77.2. Look at the percent of rentals. It's almost 79%. That's actually huge. New York County was next. Kern County, California was next. Horry County, California. You got 2 in Florida, Collier County after that, and then Polk County. Collier County, Naples area, that's where that is. Polk County is actually between where I am and Orlando. Polk County really, it's off. It's a large county. It's on the way to Orlando, leaving Tampa. Lakeland is the one city there. So that's your top 5 with the risk scores. And then you can start looking down this, and I'll put the link to this in the information section of the video, or just email me. I'll send you the report. Texas is next. El Paso County in Texas, Wayne County in Michigan, Hidalgo County in Texas, Marion County in Florida, that's Ocala area, Kings County, New York, San Bernardino County in California. I know that, when you start looking at these and then you start overlaying other situations like FHA loan delinquencies. I know, like, for example, San Bernardino County is one of the counties that has the most percentage in per capita, so that's not good. Tulsa County, Oklahoma, Shelby County, Tennessee, Oklahoma County, Oklahoma, Cook County, Illinois. Cook County is huge. There's tons of pre-foreclosures there. Riverside County, California, same thing. Riverside, San Bernardino has a ton of FHA going on there. Montgomery County, Ohio, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, Macomb County, Michigan, Monroe County, New York, Clark County, Nevada, Erie County, New York, Will County, Illinois, Montgomery County, Texas, Queens, New York, Honolulu, Hawaii, Cuyahoga, or I always say this wrong, Cuyahoga County, Ohio, Ocean County, New Jersey, Fresno in California, Jefferson County in Alabama, Jefferson County in Kentucky, New Haven County in Connecticut, Summit County in Ohio, Baltimore County in Maryland. And then the last little bit here is, let's take a look at it. This is the top 50. Lake County, Illinois, Miami-Dade, Florida, which is obviously the Miami area, Pima County, Arizona, Jackson County, Missouri, Hartford County, Connecticut, Prince George County, Maryland, Volusia County in Florida, I think that's the Daytona area, Orange County in Florida, that basically is Orlando area, Fort Bend in Texas, Franklin County in Ohio, Harris County in Texas, Harris County is Houston area, Monmouth County and Monmouth, whatever you want to pronounce it, County in Jersey, and Dallas County, which is obviously the Dallas area in Texas. So that's the scoop here, guys. So you got quite a bit. And summary of at-risk counties. I may have counted Florida wrong. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5, 6. They were saying 7. So Florida has either 6 or 7 counties. Texas, 6 counties. New York, 5 counties. California, 4 counties. Ohio, 4 counties. Illinois, 3 counties. You know what? To me, when you look at this, this is exactly like the last housing crisis. These are the locations that had, the situations. The other, I guess, state that had the big situation, is Arizona with the Phoenix area. So that's really one big county, but I don't think that made the list. And of course, Nevada with Clark County, that was the Sun Belt, the 4 Sun Belt states: Nevada, California. We'll call it Arizona and California, Nevada, Arizona, and Florida were the Sun Belt ones that had the most issues back in the day. So we're pretty much looking the same thing here. So again, this doesn't surprise me. Nothing surprises me anymore when we take a look at this. But I think it's interesting that at least someone's producing information, which is a good thing. The main difference, and this is why I'm, we'll call it happy, pleased about this, is that we are talking about it. Last time through, we didn't talk about it. We talked about it after it was too late, and there was denials on what was going on. So where we are now is that now we can forward look and say, we see problems here. So at least we can plan for it from different perspectives. Plan for a primary, plan for investor, plan for doing extra work in those areas, other ancillary businesses that will be revolved in real estate in those locations. There's a lot of stuff that happens. Real estate, of course, the real estate segment of our economy is the biggest contributor to the GDP. When you take a look at leasing, rehabbing, title, real estate sales, going to Lowe's and Home Depot, buying furniture, appraisers, inspectors, like all these ancillary things that actually that we'll say are associated with a real estate transaction It's huge. It's 20, like our economy, the GDP is about 25% of the GDP is made up of the real estate related stuff here. So it's pretty significant. So but again, but as I said, looking at this list, like the Baltimores of the world, Oklahoma City or Tulsa, like things like that. I mean, that's not surprising to me whatsoever when you take a look at the locations and what's going on. So it really boils down to, it's almost a mirror of what happened in the last housing crisis. When will this ride end? This market cannot be sustained. Well, now, as I mentioned every video now, people are questioning that, going, this can't go on. We're seeing cracks in the marketplace, and what's going to happen? It's a false controlled market. I always talked about this with respect to the moratoriums. We should have had about 600,000 people at the end of March leaving forbearance because their forbearance has expired. There will be people who will expire because even though the FHFA and the government has said we can extend this for another 3 months to June, people still have to opt in. Forbearance isn't an automatic opt-in. You have to call and opt in. So that's also why we see weekly statistics ebb and flow, go up and down with respect to the forbearance, because it's not because 150,000 people suddenly were able to go current on their mortgage. It's because people's forbearance, a large part is, listen, some people will still, have that success, and that's great, but a large majority of people basically aren't having the success financially. So when their forbearance ends, they fall off as, okay, well, your forbearance plan ends, which is positive. That's a positive number. But then so whether they go back on becomes a negative number for forbearance or an increase, or they just don't communicate and they fall in that foreclosure process bucket. So please realize that there's more to this than meets the eye. Obviously, the single family residence is asset class and everybody wants it. This just came out the other day. We can take a look at Black Knight basically saying, "Ooh, look, our delinquency went down from December 3.429 million to 3.301 million." Okay, again, sampling. Who knows? I don't know how they will figure out that number. Okay, because a lot of that number is based on forbearances, and if depending on what's going on in the forbearance plans, can affect this number. So take that with a grain of salt, as I always say to you guys. As I said, this is not an accurate number. We get conflicting stats. The actual number is much bigger. One of my videos the other week, I went through that to try to debunk some of this. Talking to the guys at auction.com, parent companies, Adam Data Solutions, short sales and other pre-foreclosure sales are supposed to become a more dominant share of the distressed market in 2021. And if you go back to some of the earlier slides, basically saying that rental property owners are at risk of bankruptcy, foreclosure, or the need to sell off properties at distressed prices. So this is pretty direct, and all these people now are kind of supporting this concept that we're going to have problems in the near future. So I haven't done a video on this yet because, quite frankly, I'm just not motivated to. I did the Case-Shiller, but just before Case-Shiller came out, we had the existing home sales that National Association of Realtors produces. And, it's the same thing, low inventory and, prices are going up double digits. So I just wasn't that interested in doing it. As simple as that, I guess you could say. Realize that less than 1% of all the on-market property sales fall in distress, which are REO, bank owned, and short sales. No one's doing short sales. Why? Because they don't know how to, or they're afraid to, or short sales has a bad stigma. Why do we know this? It's the 1% rule, because we can look at the National Association of Realtors existing home sales every month, and it's less than 1% for both REO foreclosure sales on market and short sales. So no one's doing this, guys. But foreclosure fines are quietly increasing. More properties are scheduled for foreclosure auction. Again, back to the 1% rule. So we got to get on those, and that's where the opportunities lie. It's going to increase. As I always mention, now stop fighting the housing market. I learned long ago, if you understand what's going on, then you can position yourself to work within what's happening there. So will hedge funds be buying at the market, at the foreclosure? Yes. Our price is going to go up probably for a while. What's happening with all this distress stuff? Well, it's in a suspended animation situation because of all these moratoriums. So, but we know, based on all this information and all the data people and the market segment we're not supposed to talk about, being the mom and pop landlords, that more is coming down the pike that is not being talked about and will change the marketplace. So that's why when you take a look at, and I'm not being rude or disrespectful to other videos that are out there here, but every thumbnail I see is, We're going to have a housing crash in 2021. Oh, we're not going to have a housing crash in 2021. Okay, flip flop, flip flop. Okay, people just are just whatever. It's clickbait, and it's basically trying to get a rise out of you people. They have nicer videos than me, and maybe it's more fun to watch them. But guess what? No one's showing the stats like I am, and no one's considering a lot of the marketplace stuff that people aren't talking about. Realize that I've been through the last housing crisis. We participated very heavily in the last housing crisis from a buyer perspective, from an investor perspective, from a seller perspective, from a real estate agent / broker perspective. So we've seen the whole gamut on this. And so I've got a great handle on what went on, what the issues were, and what's going to happen, and how it mirrors exactly what was going on in the last housing crisis. And what it boils down to is it's just narrative speaking. It's denial of narrative. Look over here. Don't look over here. Let's not talk about what's really going to happen, because it's going to scare people, and we just want the market to keep moving the way it's going now because it works for us. All right. So work with what you're given. Ride the wave. Such a local market. Get control of a distressed property. You will earn money because yes, the market's hot now. So if you control something that's off market and distressed, which means you're buying a discount, you're going to earn money somehow, some way, based on what you do with that property, whether you fix and flip it, whether you make it a cash flow rental, whether you retail it or sell it to somebody else. There are opportunities every single day. You need to be opening your eyes up to figure this stuff out. So as I always mention, I got new stuff going on, new product I'm releasing right now. If you want more information on this, this is a blend of new ideas with the zombie foreclosures, which I'm going to talk about next video, and my Never Pay Retail program. Basically, it's about buying cheap property from different aspects and saving money. That's different, showing you guys how to do it and giving you the inside skinny on how stuff works. All right, this is I had a comment on this yesterday. That's why I'm showing it again. This is in my county where I live. I just revised this from the previous videos because we now have January stats. So really, this is Hillsborough County, which basically from Greater Tampa Real Estate Association, which I'm a member of, and it shows this is only single-family homes, does not include manufactured mobiles, villas, townhouses, condos, income properties, whatever, just single-family homes. And it shows that in January we had about almost 1,400 closed sales with a median sales price of just shy of $300,000. If you take a look at the closed sales and I'll bring this up even bigger right now for you. If you take a look at, almost 300 grand, the foreclosure REOs, which are foreclosed REOs on market, only 10 of them sold, which means nothing was out there. Median sales price of $252, which means you got over $45K worth of equity there. Short sales, basically only 8 of them sold. Median sales price just under $240. That's about $60K in equity. And this ebbs and flows. It was $75K the month before, but again, such a small sample. But it just goes to show you what I'm saying. Less than 1% of the market is happening here. So short sales actually make 0.6% of all the closings, of all just the single family closings that happened in the county here last month. Was a 20% discount over retail, about $60K in equity. So, and this is just off the cuff. I can tell you that these are retail type short sales where no one is probably working the system and working and adding their sort of influence or magic in to push values down even harder or farther, which is what we do. So just that's the opportunity, guys. So I show you retail versus not like distressed. That is an example right there of there's money in it, and you can create more opportunity if for yourself, for your family, for primary investor, whatever you want to do with it, if you go down this path and take a look at it. So please reach out to me, guys, for more information on this. Also, as I mentioned before, I need financial partners for fix and flip projects in Florida, because if I can get stuff like that and fix it and sell it for retail, then there's great returns on the investment. The investment secured by the property. Please reach out to me if you'd like more information. All right, guys, remember 7-day free trial for gethousingdata.com. Under $40 per month gets you to take a look at your local location on distressed housing. Pre-foreclosures, foreclosures, auctions, under market houses, tax deeds, whatever, all the information is in there. Check it out. Jump to that site, please. Any questions, connect with me and we'll chat. Thanks very much for the views, likes, comments. I said reach out to me. And if we haven't connected, ping me again and we'll make sure we communicate. Thanks very much, guys. We'll look forward to speaking with you soon.